Hi there. Are you tired of your team constantly losing transfers due to its inability to live up to expectations year after year? We thought so we thought up a solution. May we present Luther Burton. Luther Burton won't transfer out of your program due to your team constantly being underwhelming. He'll stay there for like 3 years, and then he'll get drafted. And then you won't feel like your top 5-star prospect is an absolute traitor to your program. Interested? We thought so too. You can pick up your Luther Burton for the low price of $5 million in NIL deals. Thank you for listening to the sponsored message, and let's get on with the video.
Welcome on into Brown Table Sports, everybody. If you have no idea who I am, my name is Josh Halprin. I'm hosting the show, and I'm more than delighted to have you here with us today. We're going to be talking, as the title suggests, about the transfer portal, and specifically kind of what we as fans really should be expecting from it. I feel like I have kind of a nuanced take on it because, just watching European football and living with people in my friend group that, like my good friend Will, my good friend Jonah, who was featured on the last episode of Table Talk. Thank you for that, Jonah. They're all huge soccer fans, and we, as fans of both our individual colleges, but also just of college football as a whole, need to look at this changing college football environment with a new perspective that we might not be as attuned to, is I think the best way to put it. So let me explain what I mean, right? European football, as most Europeans will describe it to you, is very, very different than how Americans view sports. For Americans, we have a draft for most of our leagues, and there is a process in which, the draft is selected, the worst teams get the best players, and the goal every single year is for your team to rise up and win the Super Bowl. Now, the thing when you're looking at international football and European football and English football with the Premier League and anything else like that is that it's an entirely different beast. And there's this thing called relegation and promotion, which is, where a bottom 3 team in that league is able to move down a league or move up a league. So that would be like, say Clemson put together a terrible season and finished bottom 3 in the ACC, then they would get, say, moved into the AAC, and say a team in the AAC had a really, really good season. A team like, say a team like Tulane, like Tulane, I believe, is ranked this year. Let me check. Okay, I'm just going to waive that argument of just saying Tulane, but you know what I mean, right? It doesn't matter what team it is, but an AAC team, like if you finish, say, top 2, and then if there was relegation and those bottom 2 teams in the ACC, move down and then they switch and then they're in different leagues, it really changes a whole lot of the perspective on what is a good season. Bowl games still exist, and you only need 6 wins to get to a bowl game. The college football playoff exists, and it sucks for people that are older fans who really appreciated what making a bowl game was, and making like me growing up in the state of Michigan. Of course, I know what the Rose Bowl is. The Rose Bowl for the Big Ten. It was always the winner of the Big Ten against the winner of the Pac-12, unless they were ranked either first or second, in which place they were playing in the BCS National Championship. That's how it used to work. Then the college football playoff comes in. They're the top 4 teams. Now it's all about making this playoff bracket and being a top 4 team, instead of focusing on, well, if I'm not one of the top 2 teams, then at least I get a New Year's 6 bowl game, and you get a lot of this cool stuff that happens. But now all that is a part of the college football playoff, which means that we as fans need to look at bowl games and bowl games differently, and what exactly is a good season differently, because how European football is looked at, I can take my friend Evan right now firsthand. He's a huge Crystal Palace fan, and Will too. Will is a huge Leeds fan. Leeds right now is top of the table in the championship, which means that they are about to get promoted to the top league in arguably Europe, but the top league in England, in the Premier League, because they're in the championship. And I know it's weird that it's called the championship. That's not in this video, though. I'm not the person to talk to about why that is. Whole other wheelhouse, whole other discussion. But for Leeds, who are not the biggest market, ironically also owned by the San Francisco 49ers, the same ownership, But Leeds not being that big market of a team, if they're in the top league in arguably Europe, but definitely England, if they're in that top league, then they had a good season. You know, it's like if you're a team like Syracuse, and you're an ACC team, which is a pretty respected conference. It's Power Four conference now, not Power Five, because RIP the Pac-12. But when you're looking at a team like Syracuse, Syracuse didn't have a roster this year where they're going to be a contender in a playoff type situation. And of course, for those bubble teams, it's going to be disappointing that you don't make a playoff. But at the same time, like, you're going to go into a matchup, hopefully against a team that is at your skill level and is in that same sort of situation. When you're going and you're going to play a bowl game and win a piece of silverware that, you can look back on and be like, you know what? Like, when we were really looking at the expectations this season, 9-4 with a bowl win is nothing to complain about. If you're a team like, I go to Michigan State, I would have been ecstatic with that, because there was no way Michigan State's actually the perfect team to describe this. We went 5-7, sure, but I wanted to go 6-6 so bad, as stated in my last video, because, like, simply just give me a bowl game. Like, just give me something to look forward to and be like, you know what? Like, the season might not have gone exactly as I was hoping and exactly as I was expecting, but we still did something with it. Look at Evan right now. Look at Crystal Palace. If you look at the Premier League table, they're fighting to stay in the Premier League right now. If they stay in the Premier League, that's a good season for them. They are staying in the top division or not division, but the top league in Europe, or top league in England. They're staying up there. They're staying among the best of the best, and they're getting more money because of that, because how the rest of the world does sports versus how we do sport. We do sports like it's entertainment. They do sports like it's a business. So there are players that are constantly being signed and traded into whole different teams all around the country, or all around the world, to different countries, going to play, like, one day a guy can be playing for a European club, but then they can loan him over to to like or an English club. He can be playing for an English club, but then you move him over to an Italian league on a loan for a season, and it's like, now he's playing for AC Milan or something like that. But this is once again not a soccer video, just an example of how exactly us as college football fans need to start looking at this in order to be happy and content with the decisions that have been made. So because of this new frame of thinking that we need to take on, and it's not a we want to take on, it's if college football is to survive in this new environment, we as fans need to adapt just as much as the league and the game itself is adapting. So, you're looking at that with you're looking at, well, play, because rivalries also just work way differently among the rest of the world than they do among Americans. You look at a game like Michigan Ohio State, or like the game, or like look at the Iron Bowl, or you look at Army Navy, and it's these games that they're rivalry games, but it's not just the fans that hate each other. I've watched the game. I think I've watched every single the game, since I was like 3 or 4 years old, and because my father's a Michigan grad. Say what you want about that. But like, I was raised to hate Ohio State. Like, they won their first playoff game against Tennessee in kind of blowout fashion. It was a pretty disappointing game overall. The college football playoff hasn't exactly gone as we wanted to. As there just been way too many blowouts so far. But I think that's more on how this season is and how the talent is in the teams, as opposed to the playoff structure failing as a whole. I think if they introduced the 12-team playoff last year, we're looking at a lot different of a situation than we are this year. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. We got to watch. We got to keep on going. The draft is going to be weird this year too. I said it in my draft video. I think that it's not that there isn't more or less talent, is that the talent is like harder to find. or not harder to find, but it's not just front ended. Like the highs are not as high, but the lows are not as low. It's just a very, very mediocre draft. Not the point. Again, I'm sorry, I'm getting really, really sidetracked here. What I'm trying to say is, rivalries, I'm not saying change, but when you look at player loyalty, a player's going to go where they're getting paid money. And I don't think that you can hate on them for that, because if your baseball team is a small market team, then they're not going to sign Aaron Judge. Like it's just unrealistic to think that. But at the same time, like the Tigers most likely, I'm gonna knock on wood because I really hope they do, because I really like him. But I don't think they're gonna re-sign Tarek Skubal. He's way too expensive for them. They can't keep him, and because of that, he's gonna go sign with somebody else because it's a pay-to-win program and it's America and it sucks, but it's capitalism. And European football works the same way. A small club cannot expect to keep a big-time player because they're going to sell him for more money so they can buy more small players, because a season is not defined by winning at all when you are a small market team. A season is defined by consistency, and it kind of sucks that in American sports, every single sport besides college football has only one championship. But in college football, there is a multitude of awards that a player or that a team can win. So when you're looking at it, and it's like, what, like, you're just a total hypothetical. You're looking at Auburn. It's like you're not a top team in the SEC, but you're not a bottom team. You're a middle team. And if you go 8-4 and win the Iron Bowl and make a bowl game that's like, a respected bowl game, say like they make the Peach Bowl, like, you didn't make the playoffs. You didn't win the conference, but you went 8-4. You had a winning record and you won your bowl game. So you go 9-4. And I don't think that that's a season that you can look back on and be like, like we should have won it all. And because of that, we need to shift our mind to most teams aren't going to win it all every single year, and most teams shouldn't have that goal because it's unrealistic. So instead, you focus on where players can go to improve their games the best, because let's face it, the best teams which have the best coaches are going to be making the most money, and therefore are going to be able to pay their players the most money. So, and those high money earning colleges are going to be the ones that are able to pay for the best coaching, because you can't expect a coach to stay if he's doing well. Look at Matt Rule and how much he's moved around. I guess what I'm trying to say with all that is that we need to shift our thinking as fans to be less of a boomer bust season and more of a let's keep realistic with our expectations of what this team can actually do, and then make good signings that are within our pay range, because that's what European soccer does. And you can ask any European how their club would look at it, but I think I'm pretty on the money, and if I'm mistaken, then I'm mistaken. But that's just how I'm kind of viewing this thing. In order for this new generation of college football, or this new wave of college football, to make sense, because we have to rationalize it. Like, I don't want to become anti something that I love and want to work and want a career at. Like, we need to shift our thinking if we want to continue to enjoy this thing. And when we shift our thinking and we become open-minded to the possibility that this could actually work, if we, as a community and as a fan base, decide for it to work, then it'll work, and it'll be made, and changes will be made as needed. If 12 teams doesn't work and it's still undecided, in a few years it could be expanded to 16. There's no rule saying it can't. They can revert it back to whatever it was. There's no rule saying that either. It's totally arbitrary and up to decision, and it's up to everybody to just kind of decide how this thing keeps on progressing. But I think we need to shift our thinking and let this thing just grow, because leagues are going to change, sports are going to change, and it just is what it is. What I will say is rather disappointing is the transfer portal. The transfer portal definitely needs to be looked at, and the first kind of move that I'm going to pause real quick. Halt. Pause. The first half of this video, I talked about us as fans needing to shift our thinking, and why why all this stuff that's going on with college football now and the 12-team playoff is a good thing. All the pros with it, if we shift our thinking. Because truly, it's not a bad thing, it's just different. What is a bad thing is the way that the transfer portal is being run and how the transfer portal is working in general and the way that eligibility is working. Because I think there are a lot less issues if we aren't getting into all these gray areas, and there are actually rules establishing black and white what players can and can't do, how players are eligible, and all this stuff. Plus, looking at COVID and how that all factors in. So first things first, college football and the NCAA for college football needs a commissioner. Bad. They need somebody that's looking over everything and overall of just every single player on every single team, what position they play, how much NIL money they're making, and how much eligibility they have, how many years they've played in college. When you're looking at all that, it's up to a commissioner to decide. So I think that there needs to be a commissioner to keep all that under control and to actually start establishing rules. What those rules should be. I think that there should not be a cap on how much NIL money a player can make. If it's name, image, and likeness, soccer players are able to profit off their name, image, and likeness. Every other athlete is. So why can't a football player? There shouldn't be a cap on it. It should be fine. And the greedy are going to be greedy, and it's going to suck. But at the same time, it's capitalism, and that's just the way that the world works. And we as fans need to just understand that and be like, you know what? Like, it's not always going to be fair. The world isn't fair. Not each college football program is equal. There are some that are more historic and better than others, and there are some that rise to the top out of nowhere. There's still room of possibilities for a 2-star to come out of nowhere from a program like Appalachian State and like just dominate and like make a whole bunch of money and then move somewhere else because he doesn't have the audience for Appalachian State anymore. But he still did play at Appalachian State and has all that experience there and where he got coached, and it's up to him whether or not he wants to stay with that because it's his call. But I do think that there should be a limit on how many times a player can transfer, because it gets to a point where you're either chasing a bag, which is just like, not really like the reason that you should be there. Because I think each transfer should be done. You need to go to the commissioner first, and you need to have a valid reason, and you can only use a reason once before it's like, yeah, it's your problem, like it's not the program's problem, it's your problem. But like, we can't let a guy transfer every single year. That's ridiculous. Some people just got to know when the road is ending, when the fat lady's singing, and just give up on your dream, dude. I'm sorry. I hate to say it bluntly like that, but like, sometimes you just got to know when to call it quits. And if your reason for transferring like 3 or 4 times to 3 or 4 different schools is you can't start and you can't find a starting spot, then maybe you're just not a college football starter. Like, I'm sorry, and I'm chasing my dream right now, dude. I'm all for chasing your dreams, but sometimes that there's a curtain call, and sometimes you just see the fat lady singing. Like Cade McNamara, dude. You dated, you beat Ohio State at Michigan. You had a great career, dude. It's time to hang up the cleats. Let's maybe not transfer away from Iowa. Let's graduate, dude. Let's get a piece of paper and move on. I'm sure there's a great investment bank that would love to have you. Hunter Dickinson, dude. I would love to see, not college football. I just need to bring you up. I would love to see you get a job. I would love to see you get out of the NCAA and do something with your life that's productive. I would love to see you just go and put those fries in the bag for me. Like, it'd be beautiful. It'd be awesome. But I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. I'm not trying to come at this with, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like, you just need to think about all this stuff in a way that your brain hasn't been trained into thinking about it before. You need to think about this from a realistic standpoint as opposed to what you actually want to happen. And it's not closing the door on Cinderella stories and all that stuff. It's not ruining the game. It's just changing it to make it more capitalistic and a little bit different. And if us as a fan base can learn that and learn to move on from it, then we're going to be fine. And I wish the best of luck to everybody who's watching these programs to figure this thing out and capitalize on it and learn how to work the transfer portal. My end transfer portal rules, I would say, if it was my call and my decision, I would say needs to be a commissioner to look over the league. There shouldn't be a cap on NIL deals. You should only be able to transfer 2 or 3 times, and you shouldn't be able to play unless you're a kicker or punter over the age of 25, because at that point you're a man. You're like literally a grown man. You know, like your brain is done developing at that point. Like it's over. Like you should the oldest that you should be able to enter the NFL draft at is 24, and unless you're a kicker or punter, because there are a whole bunch of rules for that, and it gets weird. We need to stop treating the and stop granting extra eligibility too. Like Cam Rising should not be on his 8th year of playing. You know, I was like just starting high school when he was coming back, and now I'm gonna be a senior in college when he's done. It's kind of like ridiculous. Like it's time to hang up the cleats and put the fries in the bag, dude. I'm sorry. If your season's been riddled with injury, you know, I don't think it's fair to keep on getting medical red shirts. I think God's plan, dude. Like if it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be, and you just need to understand that and just move on. But like we need to stop letting all this stuff run rampant, and all these gray areas keep on contaminating the game that we love so much, and the sport that we love so much, because it kind of ruins it. I think I'm gonna end this with a little Ted Lasso quote. They said it best in that last episode of that last season, season 3. I think it was the last episode, where Rebecca is talking to that whole board, and she's like, you know, like we own these teams, but they're not ours. And you know, they might own the league, and a commissioner might own the league, but also, like, you know, it's the fans that are watching and the fans that are paying to show up. And if you're not running a league correctly like that, and you're running a sport that's dying because of a lack of not moving forward, but an inclusion of their fans and like the plan to move forward, then that's not really a very good business model, and you gotta refine it. Those are my thoughts. Please comment anything else you're thinking. Thank you for listening. And seriously, like, I want to know what y'all are thinking about this, because I haven't really seen anybody make a video about this. I haven't really seen it become a conversation, and I want it to be. I think it really should be. So please let me know your thoughts. Appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. Posting new stuff daily except for Saturdays, because I do need a day off. And just thank you once again for listening. I really hope you enjoyed. Josh Halprin from Roundtable, signing off. Thank you.